Oh my goodness. Seriously, I have to just do it. It's like I can tell myself I don't have to think about things that don't matter.
I was designed to do those things. How the hell does this guy know this about me?
It's impossible to not see.
When Dan read for my sister, she was like, he's psychic. She's like, how does he know that?
Yes.
She's like, it's human design, guys. Like, it's just a testimony of how legit it is.
Seriously, Danny was like FBI or CIA. He's like, how the hell does this guy know this about me?
Having my chart read, there were just thing after thing after thing that I was just like, wow, that's me.
This man is reading me and I've never met him before.
I was in the midst of one of the biggest emotional waves I've ever been in my life, and he saved my life.
It seems like everybody has the same reaction. It's that aha moment, and they want to find out more. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Human Design Advantage podcast. My name is Jen, and decoding the matrix for us is Danny Guru.
Oh my God, Jen, how are you? Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. I'm not doing too bad today.
Well,
how are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm ready to dive right in. Today we're going to be, we got to do the thing. Everyone needs to like and subscribe, right?
Yes, you guys, Dan's ready to go. So you guys know the drill. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. Today we're going to be doing the design of couples Sarah and Joshua. Dan had a session with them. It went really well. So we're going to be talking to Josh. And we had a little thing to go through, just a moment. Me and Dan were talking about the transit and some things that I was just telling them how I was physically feeling today. And you wanted to show people how they could pull up their transits really quick?
Absolutely. And so I was thinking I would start to try and develop a segment at the beginning of each show, a few minutes, whereby we just do a thing like they used to do a long time ago, where they would do, it was a campaign, the more you know.
The more you know.
The more you know. And it was just a little ditty. So the more you know. And we're going to do that right now with the transit. Pull up the transit.
Okay.
Before we get started with Josh.
Yes.
So anyone can go ahead.
I was going to say, anybody can pull this up really quickly. All you got to do is just go to humandesignadvantage.com/get-your-chart. You can also find the links down below. And even if you hit the home page, there is a button for you to pull your chart, and it will always come up with the current transit.
Right. So as soon as you click the button to go fill your information in for your chart, just scroll down a little bit and you'll see the transit right here. Yep, you're looking at it. So so this transit's always ever just the black lines, because that's where the sun, that's where, the now information is. So what's transiting right now? And so the more you know, look at a transit chart. Every time you look at a transit chart, this is what's currently overhead now. If there were a child born at this moment, their conscious definition would be this. So this is also the children that are being born. And while that's transiting, it's in us. We live in a transit program. So remember that as soon as you go through various moods and things throughout the year and things change for you, you're being swept along by the transit program. It's genetically in us to be conditioned by the transits and then keep going through that year over year. So two things about transit charts, just for simple, cursory, right across the surface stuff. Number one is when you see definition, pay attention to it, because that definition is in us right now. Right now, there is an emotional transitoriness going to the throat, and then there's a moody melancholicness going from the root to the solar plex center. So I'll deal with 3955, root to the solar plex center first. This is a design of being potentially moody and looking for the spirit of things so that the mood can go up. It's wicked individual. It comes in a pulse. And so in case you notice today, and this will be here for a few days, in case you notice over the next couple of days that you've noticed you can't seem to get yourself in a mood. You might feel a little bit blah because you don't live with this channel. It shows up and suddenly you can't tell where you feel the spirit is. It's the struggle to fight and be provocative to open up channels of where is my spirit supposed to be, and we don't want to feel empty. So this is the design of feeling full or feeling empty as it relates to not food in your belly, as it relates to the spirit in your heart. And then the channel on the far right is the channel of transitoriness, this jack of all trades, and it's very emotional. So what happens is it goes way up on its emotional wave. So you might feel really good and get into something, and then it comes crashing down and thinks and picks up new wisdom on the downside. So in case you start feeling like you're going a little bit down on an emotional mood, just realize you're about to get smarter. The transit program is attempting to get you into a state where you will be self-reflective, and out the other side, you always show up smarter. So what we're looking at is a design to fill the spirit and get smarter. So the more you know, look at the transit charts and just look for definition. Definition being a whole channel. And the second thing to look for, look at the transit chart and look at your chart and just look to see if there's any gates on the other side of gates that you have in your body graph that would create a whole channel. As soon as you see that, you know, now you've got that channel. It's in you for the amount of time that transit's going to be there. So we're always changing. You know, sometimes I'm an ego being, and I'm definitely not an ego being. You know, sometimes I'm emotional and I'm open emotionally. So these are things you can do with the transit chart, and it'll tell you so much. Just look into it. Look for definition. Look for gates. Friend. Yep.
Real quick, if you are in an open center and there is a defined center, would you still magnify that energy going through?
Well, that's a great question. So like the solar plex, I'm open emotionally, and now this is here. So what will happen when the emotional wave goes into me? Two things will happen. One, I'll handle it just fine because I'm emotionally, but I'm not generally defined emotionally. So chances are I'll experience bits of both.
Okay.
I'll experience bits of both. I'll still feel that wave go into me from somebody else.
I was trying to see it on a level of, you know, I know with the defined center and the open center, it's the difference of how the energy flows through.
Period.
So if it's in the transit and you have an open center, but then it makes you define, would the energy then change how it operates? Or would you just, would it still operate as a defined center and that open center would just magnify the energy?
It'll still operate as a defined channel and a defined center. It will operate that way, but because it's not native to the being that has the center open, it will feel a little bit confusing. And they will.
I have a defined route now.
Yeah,
so
right.
That's what I was wondering.
Right. I noticed I didn't feel under a great deal of pressure to get here. Now that I think of it. Did that happen to you too? I was like, we're getting here. Okay, we're on.
Yeah, it was very well. I mean, it's normally casual for me jumping on the show, but sometimes I do have that pressure, you know. But I didn't have it. I just sat down and it just was like, you know,
Now that you mention it, think of all the changes that took place just before we went on. Sarah wasn't feeling well, so we don't have to talk to Sarah.
Yes, that too.
Yep. And just a few other things, and it's just, and so suddenly I just didn't feel all the pressure, and I'm just recognizing that now, by the way.
Yes. Well, now you know where my investigative side goes.
Yeah. I just notice it when I notice it, but yeah, so the world is dealing with pressure today, just sort of in a more even keeled, sustaining, rational way, in a way that will it's processing pressure as if it were good at it. The world is processing pressure as if it's reasonably good at it, rather than, oh my God, pressure, and everyone freaks out. And you know, that happens quite often, but today that'll happen a little less. And the world will wonder why it happened a little less. And it'll be because it's in the transit. The world was given a defined route and a steady capacity to process pressure. Physical route, adrenalized pressure to move and pressure to get things done. And I just realized I don't feel like I'm under pressure to hurry to get rid of the pressure.
I'm not today.
Yeah. So thank you, transit field. I'm sure.
You're right.
It'll go away soon, Jen. We'll be right back.
Drive to be in a rush is not so prominent.
Right. So So this was the whole idea. We spend 5 or 10 minutes. The more you know. Look up the
More
transit
you
chart.
know.
Look up the transit charts, and the more you know, the smarter you are. So let's
Again, guys, that if you want to do that, that's actually, there's a shorter link that's scrolling down below, just to let you know where you can go and find it. And yeah,
rock and roll. Don't forget to book your session and get yourself awake and feel alive.
absolutely.
Let's introduce Mr. Joshua.
All right. Hi, Josh.
Happening. How y'all doing today?
We're doing
Good.
great, Josh. So everybody, this is Joshua David Hall, and you have a handle on, is it YouTube or what is it?
Yeah. Tondingo Freeman is the handle on YouTube. That can also get you to the website, tondingofreeman.com. You can see all of our adventures and me doing the photography. That's one of my pictures on the virtual background right here. So that's me.
I love it. Beautiful creative endeavors we're all into, Tone. It's a good thing, right? More is better when it comes to that. So
Definitely.
well, if we can, we'll try and post a link to your thing somewhere.
Yeah, I'm finding it. Can you spell that for me?
That's TONEDINGO Freeman, FREEMAN.
Gotcha.
Yep, just like Morgan Freeman, but Tondingo Freeman.
Tone,
Guys, we'll make sure that those links are within the description, so you can definitely go check him out and follow what he's doing.
Tondingo Freeman. That's so cool. So today we're going to be discussing the fact that, so Josh, over the past, what has it been, about 2 months since we first sort of met and started reading charts and looking into things?
Yeah, it's been about 2 months now.
Yeah, and so in the very beginning, I think I put it in the description. I remember there was certain amounts of confusion. We didn't know, we were getting into stuff, and then suddenly we just started to realize how best for you guys to navigate certain things. And I just remember a great deal of pressure coming off of you after we had been through a few sessions, and I talked to Sarah a time or two.
Oh yeah, after the first session, it was definitely a big relief in eye-opening as far as the aspect of our relationship together. You definitely helped us come to a handful of different questions that we felt needed to be answered, and it's been a great experience and a great journey for us. And I thank you for allowing for sharing that journey with us.
Yeah, it's a joy when I watch a couple, because you just don't know. Everything is so up in the air, and then suddenly you see the design components. Hey, that person is this way, and suddenly it's a little less, scary or off-putting or concerning or whatever the thing is. That's what I notice. People notice in these sessions. So, can you pull up the charts, Jen?
Absolutely, I can.
Can't wait till you see these charts, Jennifer.
I was when I was putting it together, I was looking.
Yeah, and everyone, Jennifer may have to pop off. There's a thing or two that's going to happen, so you may be float.
If I go down, then I'll come back up. But just
Jennifer's
give
got
you guys a heads up.
Floating responsibilities at home. So, anyways, you're looking at these two charts, and when I first pulled you guys together, I was like, well, so let's bring them together. On the right is Joshua, and on the left is Sarah, and so Joshua's open emotionally, and Sarah is defined emotionally. And so
real quick, Dan, before you get into it, how do we find this on YouTube? Are you guys live streaming this right now?
Well, yeah, we're live streaming.
Okay, how do we find this?
Human Design Advantage.
Okay.
I probably have a link to this very show I can send you.
Okay, that'll be great. You text it over to me. Oh, it says there we are live. All right, I found it.
Yeah, did you get it?
You got it.
Now I'm going to share it and send it out to some people, and I'm going to share it to Sarah as well, because she's at home laying in bed sick. I talked to her a few minutes before I called.
Oh gosh, I should have thought to include it. Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Okay, continue. I'm sorry, my bad.
So the things that stood out, I remember in saying, hey, let's help these two not know, double negative there. Let's help these two understand. And it just felt really good, Joshua. And I just remember Sarah, do you remember? So Sarah was going up and down on her emotional wave, and she didn't know. So in the very beginning, there was like a breakup or two, right? It was.
Yes, it was.
It was like. Can you describe a little bit about what that was? I'll give you a minute to finish your post.
Yeah, I'm trying to share the link right now. Sorry. So from my aspect of it, man, it was I met Sarah Jane in October while I was a photographer at an event out here in Great Barrington, and we chatted on a professional level. A little bit of our backstory here. Chatted on a professional level as far as she does massage therapy. I'm a photographer. She wants some headshots. And then we realized, hey, we have a connection. Let's try to explore this. So we explored it real heavy, real fast, and we called it going fast slow, is what it was. You know, we were taking our time, but yet we were taking our time fast at it because we knew there was connection. We knew there was something strong there. But we didn't quite know what it was yet. So we're like, yeah, let's explore this together and see where we're at. Because I mean, I'm middle aged. She's coming of age too. But it's to basically explain it, to find love at 45, that it just seems unconditional. It's a great feeling. It's a great thing. And then to have one person in this emotion who just suddenly gives their all and then just stops and then wavers because of fear. And I mean, we can't come from a place of love and fear at the same time. That's where we have to analyze it, because love it's a scary thing, especially when you're building that bond in a relationship with somebody. It's very scary. So with her instances in both of our past, she just kind of let her fears get the best of her emotions, and we ended up having a little bit of a split here and there about it because she's on the fence. Lately, things have been going great. We have had a great couple of months with me being out here for work. We're talking, we're sharing. I'm involved with the kids' lives now. I've been around the kids for the past week wholeheartedly, and oh my word, it's just amazing. But yes, we, just like any relationship, we've had our challenges, we've had our faults, we've broken up and then come back together over this very short but seemingly long 6-month time frame.
What I know in Sarah's chart, when it was the thing that I was able to help bring light to both you guys on. So normally when somebody just sort of cuts off like that, and it seems when you first heard it, it feels a little bit cold. It's like, what happened? And we can't tell. And then the person on the other end, if Sarah were here, she'd be able to explain essentially that I didn't like it either, is what she would say. I didn't like it. I didn't want it to be that way, but I couldn't help my feeling. And so the first order of business of triage was to alert both you guys that Sarah has an emotional wave. This is a thing that needs a great deal of love and affection. It needs a great deal of coddling. It needs nurture, so that we don't take it.
Can I say something from an emotional side?
Yep.
I think with the emotional awareness, with the up and down, because I can totally relate to Sarah's end and going through that, especially intense relationships. What has helped me is understanding what the emotional awareness is. What's happening to the emotional being at that time, especially if they don't have good history with relationships. There's, we all have trauma or shadow work and just stuff that we're holding on that we need to let go. For the emotional being, it intensifies when we get too hung up in our heads with the what ifs. Because of the open head center, it's a lot of thinking about things that don't matter. But I think when she understands that it is just the energy and she doesn't have to associate it with something, she won't get that flight response, because it's more of I don't feel like it's so much of the emotional wave. It's what the head does with the emotion getting trapped in the illusion of the fear and not having to repeat the past trauma, because for the emotional being, that's bigger. What I'm noticing is it's bigger for us than the non-defined ones. So if there's
Right.
stuff if there's stuff that's triggering, that's bringing up pictures in her head that's, past relationships are not getting hurt, it's more of like, it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
I could totally see that, Jen. And it is true. The stuff gets caught up in our head as we're doing this. And then suddenly we start thinking it's real. We start thinking it truly is real. When
I
really,
self-sabotage good relationships because I couldn't handle the intensity of the emotions that were running through both of us. Now, I wish I had the human design back then to see what was actually happening with my
Jennifer,
partners.
you just keynoted exactly what Sarah had said and sort of what was going on. You just keynoted it a moment ago when you said, "Hey, listen, I've had to hop out before because of the intensity of the emotion."
Oh, it's very intense, and with that intensity, it's going to trigger the fear up because for the emotional beings, we're empathetic. We like to go all in. We wear our emotions on our sleeves, and then sometimes that's not reciprocated in a partnership. And so we don't want to have to relive that emotion in our minds. We're thinking we're going to relive that emotion. So it's self-sabotaging. Like, oh, I'm going to end this because this is too good and too intense.
Right. It's too good, too intense. And that was sort of what Sarah had some of, as I recall. But then I remember being on the phone with both you guys. Right. Is that a phone call?
No, sorry. I was trying to monitor the chat just in case.
I think it created an echo a little bit. Someone had a little bit of an echo. But anyway, I just remember, Josh, I remember talking to you guys about this when I had you both on the phone together. So all together to help this thing sort of stay fixed up and on the right track, it took us a total of maybe 3 or 4 sessions, as I recall. A couple together, 1 or 2 each, differently, separately. 1 with you, 2 with her, 1 together, or maybe even 2, I forget. And now here you are. The whole. Did you get the sense that the whole thing could have fallen apart in the very beginning?
Oh, it could have totally fallen apart. Honestly, I have you to thank because the human design reading you first did with her and then with me, and it helped us get a better understanding of ourselves, let alone us as a couple. Helped us get a better understanding of how we work because we have both been through a lot of trauma in our lives, especially with a lot of relationships and a lot of evolve. And we're in a process of rebuilding, and as long as we ride that wave and stay in the flow, everything is good. And what to me the beauty of it is having the understanding of, okay, this is why this is happening, this is okay. And that's a big one for me, Dan, is knowing that everything is gonna be okay no matter what. And you helped open up the light to that one just by doing this chart reading, and it was great.
I love that. I love that.
I always got a lot of words when her and I communicate together about your role in our lives. So,
wow, I'm honored. I have goosebumps. Now I have to go back and get clinical again and pretend I didn't hear all that for a moment. Thank you, bud. Don't make me cry. Jennifer, you can start crying. It's sweet. That's the whole thing. And so that's what empowers us to do all of this. And by the way, I don't know if you know it, but you keynoted, ride the wave and stay in the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Ride the wave. She's emotional. Stay in the flow. If you look at his chart, he's got the channel of rhythm. Stay in the flow. So ride the wave, stay in the flow. That was interesting. I don't know if
one of the metaphors that I use with my mental state as far as her and I is the riding the wave, staying in the flow, for the simple fact that wave that she rides, it's going to crash eventually. But as long as I'm that lifeguard standing on the stand on the shoreline, just waiting for her, I could help save her. I could help be there for her as that lifeguard in any way, shape, or form that she allows me to be at that time, no matter what she needs. I'm just there.
It's super straightforward stuff when you have words for it is the thing. It's like, oh, we're here. It's just like a kid who's colicky. Oh no, my child's colicky. 400 years ago, it might have been, oh no, everything's dying and the sky is falling. because of something like that. But then, you know, we come to learn what it was, and oh no, the kid just, or whatever, a million things that would fit that description.
Yeah. And speaking of kids and embracing that 5-year-old inside of ourselves, we revisit that one a lot. And that's something that through this process you showed us, is we have to indulge into that 5-year-old self of ours every once in a while. Hey, this is good. This is fun. It's cool. I didn't give up on this, but I just stopped in the moment. But I might return back to that, or I might not. But it's okay, no matter how I flow with it, you know?
Jennifer, this was an important moment in their reading. I remember they're both open ego, and I told them where they started probably getting conditioned, you know, as it relates to that open ego. And they both had, I remember they both had, you know, feelings of sometimes I don't always stick with the thing. Sarah had certain feelings of sometimes I feel like a quitter. And then I brought him back to the 5-year-old that said, I didn't quit anything. I stopped. And it was such a simple understanding. I just stopped. It's not a quitter.
Well, and both being generators on that.
Yeah.
And I've even taken that thought, Dan, further in my life, as far as not just the relationship aspect of it as Sarah and I, but I've taken it further into the mentality of work with the guys that I teach to do what I do for a living. Of, hey, sometimes we have to indulge our 5-year-old self and know that we're gonna be okay with this. It's gonna be good.
So go ahead, John.
Real quick before we get too far away from this, because Josh, you said something that I really want to bring awareness to that is so important to the emotional being, is you are holding space for her, for one, and you're also acknowledging that she is having these feelings. I think sometimes when we do, the emotional beings has that, and the more that we have the awareness that sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with us, it's just the energy going through. Yeah. Having someone to hold that space is vital, because you're showing empathy. You are trying to come from a point of her understanding as well and see life through her eyes. And that is beautiful. We don't have a lot of that within relationships, for one, but in the collective as general. So I really admire you setting that example, not just within y'all's relationship, but because y'all have kids around, that is even vital too, because they're going to pick up on it as well.
Yeah, and the kids are a big important aspect of this. And in fact, we've done a couple different sessions where we talked about kids and I and how they are and their personalities. And I want to get with you later, Dan, because I got some information to bring with you about my daughter.
Oh, dude, you got it. Yes.
Well. So I want to get her on.
Real quick, how old is she? Josh, how old?
21 in August.
Okay.
So yeah, she's up there in Alaska. I got her information. I talked to her about it already, and she's stoked and psyched.
Dude, text it to me, name, and give me your email address so I can send it to her as well. Let's get that show rolling. I love that. That's going to be important. The younger they are, the more we've captured the youth. That's all there is to it. 21 is 20, young enough.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but like Jennifer said, I'm always going to be waiting for her. I'm always going to be there, and I'm going to be in that flow for Miss Sarah, because it's more important for, not only is it important for me to have an understanding of her as a person, I feel that she has an understanding of me as well. An understanding of us together, and how do we fit both of these chart designs together to make us. And for me, it's not just about me and her. And for her, it's not just about me and her either. It's about the 5 of us, her 2 littles and my little, and us together as a unit, and how we can make this all work in the long run. That's how we see it.
A little dedication and a little reasonableness makes everything sort of go away. And the next
makes a lot of time in and it's a beautiful thing. It is. Yeah.
It's a good time to be doing this show because we're all emotional in this transit field. So I'm noticing lots of feelings coming through, Jennifer.
It is interesting.
Yeah. So the other thing then I remember looking at right away that said, there's 2 other things. What gives this couple strength and power? And I remember pointing out to you, Josh, that these profiles, your 1-3 profile, deeply investigative, is an exact harmony, straight up harmony to her profile, that 4-6 profile. these things totally harmonize each other. The things you're investigating, she starts talking about. And the things that you mutatively bump into, she turns into role model experiences. She forces the role model into the relationship, but that role model is there in all of us anyways. It's not like she gave you a book and said, you now must be this role model this way. No, her energy invokes it. That's all. She didn't have to say a word. All you had to do was be in her aura. And suddenly we all find ourselves acting out that role model nature that she herself is truly coming into, that she didn't know. So I remember that was strong. And then I remember the other thing that we were pointing out was this whole, both of your arrows, sets of arrows are leaning quite a bit to the right. And they're the same. You have the same variable sets of arrows on the right and the left of the head center. And I just remember pointing out this is a deep spot for communion. I wouldn't have been able to get in that too much, but it's just a spot that allows open receptivity in the same kind of way. So when Sarah's wave helps get her clear and your generator empowerment empowers your behavior, which is what's going on all the time, you're both able to basically share that. You share what you identified, and that turns you on. She shares what she's feeling. That turns her on. When those two things line up, suddenly, and they don't need to line up as in they fully agree. They need to line up as you're both seeing it. Yeah. You don't have two beings aren't required to agree. They're required to see. We can, and ultimately that brings out generalized agreement. And so I just thought that was really, really helpful when we were looking at this and putting you guys together. And I remember talking to Sarah offline, just separately at one point in time, pointing out how Joshua is basically, God made Joshua to be with Sarah at some point in time, because you fill in these spots that make her feel safe and feel creative. And she fills in these places that make you feel alive.
Yeah, that's totally a two-way street. She makes me feel safe and creative as well.
Yep. Right. That will come together, of course. And she makes, and you make her feel alive too. You know what I'm saying? It's a two-way street that's shared. It's more important. I was talking about the sharing aspect, that this definition you both have that requires and demands sharing of this stuff. So you're both able to look inward, then you're both able to share, and then you both have these tribal activations that allow you to be basically together in this way. You got a lot of companionship in your chart. You got electromagnetics that bring ideas out into the fore, that bring creativity out into the fore and contributed. So you guys are a design of contributing stuff as you get together. And it's just, I just thought it was really cool. And then I remember pointing out that both of you have an open ego. Neither one of you has anything to prove to the other. Yeah. So I just thought
very comfortable. It's like I've known her my whole life, and it's like she's known me my whole life. But at the same time, we constantly remind each other that this is a new relationship, and we've got lots to work to go. But as long as we work it together, it's all good.
I think you're off to a very excellent start.
Two generators buzzing. Have you guys asked each other questions yet? We would have done a question.
We always ask each other questions. We're always playing the yes or no game with one another. Do you want to do this? Yes. How would you feel about doing that? We do the open-endedness, and help? It so helps. It opens up the line of communication, because I can be stressed out about what's going on at work. She could be totally stressed out and despondent about what's going on with her home life and the things that are out of her control. And the importance about being, for me, the emphasis about being people is we like to have control over our lives and situations. And we've both learned we're not in control of our emotions. It's bigger than just us and what we want out of our own human experience, so to speak. But as long as we do it together and we ask the questions and we communicate, we can get past almost anything.
It's so true. And so you notice, I remember we gave, again, this stuff turns from what is it all about? What is it all about into something incredibly practical and usable. in your daily goings on. And
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm just agreeing with you.
And then I remember pointing out then, let's see, did I point out you got, yeah, that whole asking of questions was just a matter of getting a conversation started. I remember Sarah had asked something at one point in time. It's like, we can't keep a conversation of yes and no. That's for 3-year-olds. I'm like, that's true. It just starts there. And it doesn't even always start there. It starts there when you want to know something.
Yeah.
And so you guys have noticed by now that this responsiveness you have as generators is true in that moment. And have either of you picked up in the other and helped the other or yourself through a moment where you realized the pressure of the brain kept coming down to try and censor that truth, modify it, alter it, add to it, take away from it? Have you noticed any of those?
We definitely noticed those. Like, we have moments like me, for instance. I can speak for myself, and I can speak for my experiences with her. Me, for myself, when I have too many thoughts going on, I tend to, like you pointed out, Dan, is I'm a sharer. I will share, like diarrhea of the mouth, share, and it all just kind of comes in the moment. But there's times where it's kind of jumbled and it doesn't quite come out right. And when I'm with her, like, one of the things that she's done that's kind of a tool is she'll just calmly look at me and she'll put her hand over my mouth for a second, and put her head on my forehead, and we'll just sit for a moment. And it brings the calm. And then my thoughts aren't so jumbled, So she reads my energy and I read hers, which is a beautiful thing to have.
Dude, that's amazing. Yeah. I love the sound of all of this. And so one last just question relationship wise, because when people don't know that these are functions inside of us, I notice that anytime someone can't answer a question in the moment, or they try to answer and there's delays and stuff, or they answer what isn't true quite at the moment because it's not a response, it's mental.
Yeah.
That if they start pointing it out in the other, they think that that's aggressive. They find it aggressive. You're trying to tell me I'm lying. You're trying to whatever. Don't, this kind of thing. And then you guys were nice and open and receptive, and you realized, oh, these are mechanics going on. Sarah doesn't have a problem. Josh doesn't have a problem. Josh's mind, Sarah's mind, caused a delay. It filtered some of it because there was a delay in the response of some, mundane yes or no thing, and it starts out yes, no, and then it moves into the rest of the conversation. So I think that's beautiful, Josh.
Yeah, I know one of the other things that's been a big helping tool that I believe you showed us and taught us, and kind of not necessarily taught us, but kind of like made us
aware of,
remember and be aware of. That's right. That if I say something, she tends to ask, well, why did you think that at this moment? Or why would you say that at this moment? And it helps me to share more in depth with her of, well, I always said that because this is why I was feeling X, Y, Z in this moment. And I just wanted to let you know. And she goes, oh, okay. Because for her, it's more of I don't have an ulterior motive behind what we're doing. We're just in this moment together and we're just sharing.
Why not, when you have all that sharing in the collective circuitry in your body graph between the two of you, why not share incessantly? You know what I mean? It's part of the fun. And then when either one of you aren't in the mood for that at that moment, then it slows down. And, it's not like you have to beat each other up. I'm sharing with you now, like I did with my poor mother. Mom, my mother never had a break. I shared everything. I guess I didn't learn that skill so well until I got older, but it's a skill we get to learn. I'm wicked grateful you were able to come on and share some of this stuff, because open and receptive are the two of you. Able to communicate are the two of you. Able to think through and become creative in the now are the two of you. Nothing to prove are the two of you. And both of you together have an open head center. So the open head center is nothing that you need to know that you have to prove you can think about. Yep. So anything that's pouring through just doesn't matter. until your responsiveness says it does, or until her wave comes to clarity that it does.
Yeah.
So I know I watched Sarah go through certain clarity processes when she was moving through this wave process, and by now I can imagine it has started to tame down. She's seen this wave now a bunch of times, and each time, just like a woman that notices any chemistry, you know what I mean? She's noticing that chemistry, and she's like, wow, that is a chemistry. It's actually not, our emotions are not a mental construct, but we give it mental construct authority in a way, because our mind is there so quick, and mind is powerful, right? It's got details, it comes up with concepts, it
Memory.
says memory and data, absolutely. And it's got that secretary in there, Raz. We don't like Raz.
Well, you just need to know what RAS does. A lot of people doesn't understand what the reticular activating system is, but that's from an emotional being. I mean, before I was aware of that, I was always up and down, diagnosed with depression, back and forth, and all that was doing was anytime an emotional wave went through me, it would bring up every single thing that would make me have that feeling that I was feeling. Parents, schools, people I encountered in my life, especially past relationships. And now that I have the awareness, if I wake up feeling that way, I don't have to get stuck in the mind. I don't have to keep replaying those memories, giving me those memos, and I can actually say that that's not my energy. It's just flowing through me, and not associate it with something to where I'm downward spiraling, where I was not feeling that way in the morning, and by the end of the day, I'm all up in my head with a scenario that really isn't the reality of things.
Right.
That's just sort of how it goes, and the awareness then it brings so much clarity to the fact that the wave is there. So has she been able to report, that it's like, oh my God, my ups and downs don't seem so drastic?
Yeah.
However, the ups can be as drastic as you want. Now that you're aware of it, ride it to the moon, baby.
We do love our ups. And we enjoy our downs too. We really do. Our downs is what I feel brings us to the up and helps us become stronger as a couple. And we're just so grateful. So
I appreciate that, dude. The last thing I can think to ask is actually a practical question. It's a little bit self-serving too. I've noticed I've been able to say with a great deal of confidence that by the time I'm done reading charts for people, they're open and receptive and they start seeing it, that I can wash away any need they had, generally speaking, start to deal with medications. I don't know if you guys are on any, but I'm just saying some people try to get off their meds. They can start to do that. Some people start thinking they can't get what they need out of talk doctors and this and that. And by the time I get to them, they don't necessarily need to go to a talk doctor, sit on a couch, do these psychotherapy or what I'm saying, therapist type things. And so the machine starts to lose its grip on the person. And I don't know if this is a question. It's more of a statement, I guess. Can you see for yourself how this starts to replace the need to lie on a couch and tell the doctor what your dreams were last night? How you feel?
I know it's helped her, and I've heard her say, and I quote, she gets more out of the conference calls that you and I do in her out than she does through counseling. Both her and I, we still do counseling on a weekly basis. I was doing it twice a week when you and I first met. And then this month, my counselor, Christine, she started doing once a week instead of twice a week. But yeah, we get so much out of this, and I see it as a tool to add to our toolbox of self-help, so to speak, than anything else.
Yeah.
And we integrate what we learn from you as us as individuals and what we learn from our counselor. But yeah, we get so much more out of this because it's more of an understanding of ourselves. Because what we do with the counselor, we can talk to our friends about that because we're just talking to them and getting advice. We do that with our friends. And honestly, we've done the same with you, Dan, where we've gotten advice from you in a roundabout sort of way and even a direct way.
Right.
But yes, this has been a very, very helpful process for us.
Have you guys been able to share any of your human design stuff with your counselor?
I don't know if she has, but I know I have. And my counselor is very intrigued about the human design process, and I've given
Let's
her.
drive her in and wake her up.
Yep.
She's gonna want to pull the she's gonna want to pull the charts on all of her clients. She shouldn't be seeing a client without at least seeing what their chart looks like.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if the handful of people I've sent your way have contacted you yet, but I've sent a handful of people your way.
Not yet.
That have needed some help, but they're kind of they're going through some things too. But
Sarah said yes, she has shared her.
Oh, nice. Hi, Sarah. Love you.
Love you too, Sarah.
He loves you more.
Can I respond to your statement?
Yeah.
Please do.
So I started seeing a psychiatrist, or my mom put me in therapy probably at the age of 14 because I had a lot of behavioral issues. I'm a manifester. So lots of suppression in my life. And of course, my manifester just exploded. So that theme carried throughout my life, probably until the age of 37. So lots of talk doctors, lots of every medication under that you could imagine. And I have gotten way more out of this, understanding psychology for one, and adding other healing modalities or embodiments in my life than anything in the amount of money I spent talking to a talk doctor. That's my personal experience. I've gotten more help because I think theirs is regurgitated information taught by Rockefeller education, and they're not fully understanding what this is. And I think a lot of people would benefit from this. So I'm glad that you two are sharing it with other people, because they'll be able to really diagnose correctly instead of misdiagnosing people. And there's a lot of that going on.
Oh yeah, so that was one of the topics Sarah and I had recently, because I believe I was misdiagnosed as a teenager with.
Can we go back full screen, Jen?
So I was diagnosed as a teenager at 17 as bipolar, and there was some concerns that there might be some schizoaffective disorder because I have one family member, my aunt, who's my second cousin's mom. She's diagnosed schizophrenic, bipolar, and all that. And I was just an angry teenager. I had medications, but I've been through some stuff, and I was married at a young age, and I worked my tail off for the family, for my degree, for my life. And I went through all these pressures and didn't really know how to deal with it. So there were some things that popped up when I was younger, but in the past some odd years, I've been more steady than I ever have been. And that's where, with me talking to my counselor and trying to go, okay, maybe there is something, let's explore all of my options, and see if I do need to get reevaluated for my mental state. Because it ultimately, Sarah and I are building a future together. And we want to make sure we are both adequately sane and safe enough to do this whole family thing and be around each other's kids and enjoy life together and one another, and pretty much explore us as a whole instead of us as individuals. Now, like I said, we use what Dan here has taught us as a tool in our toolbox. One, but God at the head of our life. We always pray together. I went to a church service before doing this. And then I have a Bible study tonight at 6 that I run with a couple friends of mine here in town. But we put 2 and 2 together and use it all as an ultimate tool to talk and communicate. But I believe this is a good tool as well, as far as learning your mental state and figuring out what you need to be okay. Whether that need is medication, or you decide, hey, I can do this without medication because I know myself, and I know myself better than anyone else. So yes, we use this as a tool. I don't need medication any longer. I haven't been on medication or prescribed medication since I was a kid, really. But we all battle through bouts of depression,
Yeah.
bouts of anxiety, bouts of self-worth, for that matter. But
Yeah, everyone needs to
you
work
with
on
it
that.
and how you follow along your path. That's the key right there to me. So yes, this is a good tool. If that answers
Very
your
well said.
tone.
Yeah, super well said. Well, as far as I'm concerned, this is just another beautiful. So I get off on these. These things make me so high. I sometimes I text Jennifer afterwards or whatever, and I'll just say how I killed it and did it. And of course, at that moment, it's all about me, my favorite subject. You know, when I'm on my own and I'm not in a call with you guys. You know, and I go right back, snap right back to where I'm supposed to be, and I'm so pleased. And it's about really getting to the couples. We don't need breaking up. We need them getting together. We don't need families falling apart. We need them staying together if they can. And it's just such a joy, dude, to be in the middle of all of it. It's so empowering on my end to watch the awakening take place, to the mechanics, to the body graph, to the fact that, oh my God, we have ways that I can now see in the other that I have words for. It's just such a joy. And
ultimately, all we have together is time and love. And what we do with that time and that love while we're here on this earth, it's up to us. And if we try to bring other people into the love of our life and let us shine through them and them shine through us, we can conquer all.
it's so true, Tone. It is so true. That's a beautiful note to close this out.
Yeah, I was just going to say that was a beautiful note. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Really, really. It's been educational. And thanks for being along the journey with us, Dan. I know we would like to set up another session with you soon, geared towards me, her, the kids, and I'm going to get you all the information for.
Text me your daughter so I can see what's the scoop with that. And 2 plugs. Plug number 1 is check out the link, because the Tone experience, I was actually on it once. These guys, I like these guys. They're fun, and you guys cover all kinds of cool stuff. And then both you and Sarah may enjoy this. Jennifer does on her Rise University a whole Ho'oponopono workshops, like 4 or 5 things long, and it gets back into the, you know, what is wiping away the memory and data and dealing with RAS and you know, the person inside your head, essentially, and
getting back into the law of inspiration, which is in direct tune with the divine, the creator, God. It's the memory and data that from trauma, past experiences that are really standing in our way and our opponent. And you've done a lot of self-work. I'm pretty sure through your journey, you're always realizing that what is standing in your way to getting to the next level is always a memory, something that is running inside of you. So
and one of the other important things, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jennifer. I get real passionate and emotional sometimes. So.
It's okay.
One of the important things for me is, dang, I forgot my thought train just now. That happens. It's knowing and learning in the fact that we evolve as people, knowing and understanding the evolutionary process of ourselves, and knowing that we are going to change. We are not going to be this constant state of depression, this constant state of blissfulness. But once you have the tools to learn how to deal with that, that's when everything is just okay. And you come to the understanding that all is well, and it will be okay, no matter what the outcome is going to be, but we can do it all. It's going to be okay.
It's important to have those tools or those skills that even when you do get your human design, you may see stuff that comes up inside of you that is a hard time to adjust. I remember when Dan told me that because I'm a manifestor, my not self theme is anger. Well, I had to spend 2 years in anger management when I was younger because of my blowouts. And so I had worked on my anger. So when he said that, I got triggered. I was like, No, I've worked on that. But I'm an investigator. So the more that I do a lot of internal reflecting, that now I can witness it, that it is an energy that comes up. I've learned not to react to that energy. But as soon as I was able to witness it, I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So that's really there. But I was able, because I had done so much self work and I worked on, I do life coaching as well. I had all these modalities to work through that without me getting, too triggered, because sometimes when people get triggered, they don't do further investigation of why they were triggered in the first place, which all stems from a memory or data that's running that really isn't yours. That was probably you picked up since the time of birth.
Oh yeah, and I'm going to use a Danism here, and I'm going to go back to what I'm going to go back to a keynote here that you said, Jennifer. You said the word trigger. Now, I've done behavioral health management in Arizona for some years. I used to work for a counseling agency for the state, so I did the life skills and all that too. But triggers are a pain in the tail because we all have them. We may not recognize them in the moment, but when that trigger hits, it's just like the trigger of a gun. Everything just stops in that moment because I feel this way. I am hurt. You did this. This is not my fault. And it may be something that nobody even did,
It's all you.
It's all on us. It's nobody else's fault. But as being with somebody who is triggered and you notice these triggers coming up, you can go, okay, it's cool. I know I triggered you in this moment, and think mentally, but I'm here for you and I want to work through this with you.
Mm-hmm.
Realize that when you're triggered, forget all of your past emotions and all of your past experiences that you've had through the hurt, the pain, the letdown of ourselves, for one, because I'm learning that we're the hardest persons to forgive ourselves sometimes.
God, is not true. Yes.
Right.
Yes. That peanut gallery is us, man. We're critics to the max. Yeah.
We are
we're our worst critics.
So are our worst critics. 2 days ago, I told Sarah Jane this one when she was on stage singing. I'll send you the link to that one, Dan. It was a great performance. But
dude, we have to see her sing. So I want an itinerary. Jennifer may actually pop up here at some point in time to do a few shows out of the Northeast. That's still up in the air. But if it does take place, I would love to go out and see Jennifer sing.
Oh, well, to kind of plug Sarah Jane out here, I believe next Wednesday over at the barn. Or I'm sorry. Not the barn. I think she's still listening. She'd come. But anyway, next Wednesday, she's going to be singing. She was over at Dewey Hall last Wednesday is where she sang. Did a 2 song set. It was great. She has a beautiful, amazing voice. I'll send you the link.
I can't wait to see it. If it's Wednesday, that might work out just fine because I might, if I get a chance, I could go to Chester, be on the farm, go from Chester to there, and it would be closer than going all the way from Long Meadow to there.
Yeah. So I'll make sure one of us keeps you abreast to the situation of when that is.
Perfect.
So that way you can attend.
Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap this up. Jennifer, want to say all the things?
Yeah, thank you again for joining us. All the links have been updated, guys, in the description, so you'll be able to find his information. Make sure you pop over and like and subscribe to his channel and see what he's got going on. Also, make sure you subscribe to us, and if you haven't already, get in here and get your reading. So
book your session, share out this link, and get your button here. Let's wake you up.
Thank you guys very much for having. Remember, this is your life.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. This was a very inspirating one.
Yeah,
going is real smooth, man. Josh got that smooth voice. Thank you, Josh.
Yes. You guys have a wonderful Sunday.
Yep.
Thank you.